Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Kelly Mazdi, macros coach and guide through your real life side of nutrition, where we talk about sustainable fat loss, being flexible, consistency in eating in a way that works with your life, not against it. If you've ever wondered how to track a meal out, whether you're at a restaurant, date night, or grabbing dinner with friends, this episode is for you. So let's dive in. What's happening right now? We have the shred. We just started this past week. The momentum is building inside of there. We are going to make tracking super easy outside of the kitchen so that they feel confident and sustainable even when they don't have a food scale with them. So here's the deal. Tracking macros doesn't mean you have to give up eating out or living your life. It's about being practical, it's about being sustainable and not perfection. So the goal today is to give you a plan you can actually use the next time you are out. So my number one tip, look at the menu ahead of time and why this actually matters. Before you walk into the restaurant, give yourself the advantage of making choices in a calm moment. Pull up the menu, decide what looks good, think about how you'll track it, pre-track it. When you make decisions before hunger and cravings and social pressure hit, you choose a meal you're excited to enjoy and one you can actually estimate confidently in your tracking app. Here's what often happens when you don't look ahead, and let me know if this sounds familiar. You walk in, you're starving, your girlfriend orders the fried chicken sandwich with a side of fries, someone else orders nachos for the table. The smell of melted cheese and wings and burgers hits you. Now, instead of making a grounded choice, you're making a hungry, rushed, emotional choice. That's when you end up ordering something like a bacon cheeseburger, a side of fries, a just one appetizer, maybe a cocktail, and suddenly your meal, which could have been more manageable, 500 to 600 calories, turns into 1,500 to 2,000 calories before you even realize what happened. Not because you lack willpower, but because you walked into a decision heavy environment with no plan. So, what not to order when you don't plan ahead? A restaurant Cobb salad, right? It sounds healthy, but here's the breakdown. There's fried chicken or breaded chicken, there's blue cheese, there's avocado, there's bacon, there's creamy dressing, there's croutons, there's eggs. This salad in quotation marks, can be over 1,200 calories, and most people track it as 4 to 500 simply because it's on the salad menu. So when you look ahead, you'll see that and think, probably not the best choice today for where I want my macros to land. So what you might choose instead when you look early, I will share in next week's episode in part 2. Be sure that you pre-log your meal right before you leave the house, not when you sit down, not when you open the menu, not once you're already hungry. You'll walk in confident, grounded with a zero decision stress and your orders already chosen. Number 2, start with protein first. Protein is the foundation of your meal when you're eating out because it keeps you full longer, keeps you satiated, keeps you from being hangry. It's the macro almost everyone struggles to hit. It's the easiest part of the plate to estimate without a food scale. It keeps you from choosing a meal that's carb heavy, fat heavy, with barely any protein. So when you're scanning the menu, don't get distracted by the fancy names, the sauces, or the photos. Start by asking, where is the protein? Pick something single ingredient and easy to track: grilled chicken, steak, salmon, shrimp, pork tenderloin, grilled tofu. So once you choose the protein, the rest of your plate becomes so much easier to build around it. So let's just say you walk into Applebee's or Chili's. If you start with that looks good approach, you might end up ordering spinach artichoke dip, a big plate of pasta, flatbread, quesadilla, loaded fries. All delicious, right? But almost zero protein, tons of calories, and impossible to estimate cleanly. So suddenly you're 1,300 calories deep and you're hungry by 9 p.m. because you had zero protein. But when you start with protein first, your choices shift. In fact, I have my private clients eat their protein first. So look at the menu and immediately notice grilled chicken breast, 6-ounce sirloin, blackened shrimp, salmon, turkey burger. Then you build the plate, right? Add a vegetable, add a carb that's easy to track, baked potato, rice, fries. It's just easier to estimate. So skip or minimize the heavy sauces because that's where the hidden fats jump in. The protein keeps you full, it stabilizes that hunger and keeps your macros on target. So when you're picking a meal, start by choosing the protein. Grilled steak, grilled chicken, salmon, shrimp, something single ingredient. Then build the rest of your plate around it. So, and when in doubt, ask for something grilled or baked with minimal or no sauce. That simplifies your macro estimate. Number 3, overestimate fat. Here's the truth. Restaurants love fat. Why? Because fat equals flavor, and that keeps customers happy. So what does fat look like in a restaurant setting? Oil brushed on the grill, butter melted on top of your steak, extra dressing tossed into your salad, way more than the amount that you would use at home. Sauces cooked into the dish, cheese added even when you didn't ask for it. And that's me. Mayo-based spreads, dishes sauteed in oil, again, way more than you'd use. So even a simple grilled chicken breast can easily have 2 to 3 teaspoons of added oil, which is 80 to 120 calories of fat before you even touch the sides. So this is why you always overestimate fat when eating out. Not because we're paranoid, but because it gives you wiggle room. It prevents you from under tracking. It keeps your macro average more accurate, and it protects the consistency you have worked so hard to build. Most people don't gain weight from one restaurant meal. They gain it from underestimating restaurant calories repeatedly and eating out multiple times per week. So maybe you order a grilled chicken Caesar salad thinking, oh, perfect, protein plus greens, I'm good. But here's the reality: chicken cooked in oil, romaine tossed in dressing, croutons, Parmesan cheese, extra dressing drizzled on top. And maybe you would track it as chicken Caesar salad, 450 calories, when it's actually probably 700 to 1,000 plus calories. And no, not because the restaurant's trying to sabotage you, but because they cook for taste, not for macros. So, how to overestimate smartly. When you log, just add 1 or 2 teaspoons of oil, add 1 extra tablespoon of dressing if the salad looks glossy, but ultimately I would probably order the dressing on the side so that you have control over that. Deconstruct the salads, ask for it deconstructed. Log the protein slightly higher in fat. Choose entries labeled restaurant style or generic restaurant inside of the app. And if something's sauteed, add at least 2 teaspoons of oil. And assume that mixed dishes have more fat than you think. So this overestimation isn't negative. You're just being protective. It's how you stay in a deficit without obsessing over every bite. Sometimes you can visually see, right? You get your plate and you know that it's oily. So if you tilt your plate and you see a sheen or actual oil pooling, track an extra tablespoon of oil, 120 calories, 14 grams of fat. If food tastes extra buttery, add 1 teaspoon of butter, 45 calories, 5 grams of fat. If a salad looks drenched, which I would hope you would just order the dressing on the side, but if you didn't, track 2 servings of the dressing, not 1. You're not being dramatic, you're just being realistic. So think better safe than too low. That's confidence, not paranoia. And be brave. Talk to the server. Tell them what you want. All right. Ask for something steamed. Ask for no butter. Ask for light oil. Don't be afraid. You're paying for this meal. 4, track what you can well enough. I cannot stress this enough. Everybody tends to give up and just says, I'm just not going to track. There's so many people that sabotage themselves this way. They walk into a restaurant, they look at the plate, they panic because it's not perfect, and they say, I can't track this accurately, so I won't track at all. That mindset is exactly what keeps people stuck. Macro counting is not about perfection, it's about pattern accuracy, not gram by gram accuracy. So, why good enough tracking works? Because your progress is determined by your consistency, your awareness, and your patterns over time. Not a single meal, and definitely not whether you track the sour cream within 3 grams. Tracking something keeps you mindful, keeps your week on track. Tracking nothing throws you into the cycle of, I already messed up, so I might as well eat whatever I want. That's a that's what sets you back. That's actually what sets you back, not the restaurant meal. So, what to actually track at a restaurant? Focus on the big rocks, right? The major macros, the protein, the main anchor of the meal, carbs, potatoes, pasta, rice, bread, tortillas, fat from cooking oil, dressings, cheese, sauces. You do not need exact grams of shredded lettuce, an accurate teaspoon count of pico. You don't need to log 4 green beans on your plate. You don't need to measure your salsa. Okay. That level of precision is for bodybuilders getting ready for stage prep, not real people with real lives. So you went to Chili's, you got chicken fajitas, your plate comes with grilled chicken. Great. Track it. Onions and peppers. Choose a small serving of veggies. Tortillas, find a generic tortilla in there, track it. Sour cream, estimate 1 to 2 tablespoons. Guac, estimate 1 to 2 tablespoons. Cheese, estimate a small sprinkle, okay? Don't overthink this. Just keep it super simple, all right? This is accuracy in the real world. The biggest mistake beginners make, they try to track with bodybuilder precision, and then they end up tracking nothing. I see it every shred. A woman eats out and tells me, I didn't track because it wasn't perfect. Imagine doing this with your bank account. Well, I don't know the exact price of each grocery item, so I didn't log any of them. You'd blow through your budget in a week. So macros are the same way. Awareness keeps you in control. Track what you can confidently, let the small stuff go. In closing, I want to give you, a tip. Zoom out and see the big picture here. One restaurant meal tracked imperfectly will never make or break your progress. Your body responds to patterns over time, not perfection in a single moment. If you can enjoy the meal, give it your best estimate. Move forward. That's sustainable success. All right. You're building a habit, not a perfect tracking scorecard. Okay. Tracking a meal out isn't about exact numbers. It's about showing up with confidence, making intentional choices, and seeing progress over time. If you can track what you can and enjoy the life you're living, that's the goal. I'm cheering you on. You're doing better than you think, all right? And next week in part 2 on this topic, where I break down specific restaurant scenarios and eating outside of the home and some examples. So be sure to tune in. You're always doing better than you think you are. See you next week.